It's a peaceful morning. You wake up, open the curtains, and start your day with the same routine you've followed for years. A cup of tea, maybe a light breakfast, and of course, your daily vitamin pill. You've taken it faithfully because you believe it's helping you stay strong, keep your heart healthy, and maybe even add a few more good years to your life. But what if I told you that for some people over 60, this very vitamin could be quietly raising the risk of a life-changing stroke? Hello? I'm Dr. Ariana. For over 15 years, I've worked with patients recovering from strokes, and I can tell you, many of them never imagined that something so small, so healthy, could be linked to such a devastating event. I've seen seniors who were careful with their diet, exercised, and still suffered a stroke. And one thing they had in common was the daily use of this particular vitamin in amounts their body no longer needed. Now, I'm not here to scare you away from all supplements. Far from it. Vitamins have their place, especially when prescribed properly. But as we age, our bodies process nutrients differently. What was helpful in your 40s or 50s can sometimes become harmful in your 60s, 70s, or beyond. So in today's video, I'll explain exactly which common vitamin can cause trouble, how it affects your blood vessels and brain, who's most at risk, and, most importantly, how to protect yourself without giving up on your health goals. Please stay with me until the end, because I'll also share 3 safer natural alternatives that can support your brain and heart without adding to your stroke risk. Your health is too important to leave to chance. Let's begin. Before we talk about the vitamin itself, it's important to understand why stroke risk climbs so sharply after age 60. This way, you'll see why even small changes, like the wrong supplement, can tip the balance. A stroke happens when blood flow to part of the brain is blocked, or when a blood vessel bursts. Without oxygen-rich blood, brain cells start dying within minutes. That's why it's called a brain attack. And just like a heart attack, the damage can be permanent. Now, as we get older, our blood vessels aren't quite as flexible as they used to be. Years of natural wear and tear, along with everyday factors like diet, stress, and blood pressure, make them stiffer and narrower. Think of it like a garden hose left out in the sun for years. It still works, but it's not as smooth inside, and water doesn't flow quite as easily. Other health conditions common after 60 add to the problem. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes can all injure the lining of blood vessels. This makes it easier for fatty deposits or clots to form. If one of those clots travels to the brain, it can block blood flow and cause a stroke. Another big factor, the heart itself. Irregular heart rhythms, especially atrial fibrillation, become more common with age and can send clots directly toward the brain. And here's where vitamins come in. For someone whose blood vessels are already delicate, or whose blood is already more likely to clot, certain supplements can push the body into dangerous territory, either by making the blood too thick or by affecting blood pressure in sudden ways. This doesn't mean everyone over 60 should avoid vitamins, but it does mean you have to be more selective, more aware of the total amount you're getting, and more cautious about anything that could tip the scales toward a stroke. I've had patients tell me, "Doctor, I didn't think something as small as a pill could make such a big difference." But when you're already at a higher baseline risk, small things add up. Now that you understand why stroke risk rises with age, let's talk about the vitamin in question, one that's sitting in millions of kitchen cabinets across America. The vitamin I'm talking about isn't some rare, exotic supplement you've never heard of. In fact, it's one of the most common vitamins recommended for heart health, skin glow, or better circulation. Many seniors keep it right next to their morning coffee cup. It's vitamin E, often praised for its antioxidant power and ability to fight cell damage. You'll find it in multivitamins, standalone capsules, fortified foods, and even skin creams. For decades, vitamin E has been marketed as a must-have for staying youthful and protecting the heart. And it's true, vitamin E does have benefits when you get it naturally from foods like almonds, sunflower seeds, spinach, or avocado. In those forms, it's balanced with other nutrients and is unlikely to cause harm. The trouble comes when people take high-dose vitamin E supplements, especially in the form of pills or capsules that give you far more than your body needs each day. For younger adults, this might not cause immediate harm, but after 60, the picture changes dramatically. I once treated a woman in her late 60s who swore by her daily 400 IU vitamin E supplement. She had started taking it after a friend told her it keeps the blood flowing and prevents heart attacks. What she didn't know was that she was also getting vitamin E from her multivitamin and her fortified breakfast cereal, pushing her daily intake way above safe levels. The result? Her blood became too thin. She developed frequent nosebleeds and easy bruising. One morning, she woke up with sudden weakness on one side of her face and arm, a transient ischemic attack, or mini stroke. Thankfully, she recovered, but it was a warning sign we couldn't ignore. High-dose vitamin E can interfere with how your blood clots. For someone over 60, who may already be on blood thinners or have fragile blood vessels, this can mean an increased risk of both bleeding in the brain, hemorrhagic stroke, and clot-related strokes. The scary part is that most people don't realize how much they're taking. Labels can be confusing, and vitamin E hides in many fortified foods. The safe daily limit for adults is about 15 mg/h, 22 IU, yet many supplements provide 20 times that amount. The bottom line? Vitamin E from food, good. Vitamin E in megadoses, potentially dangerous, especially after 60. Now that we know which vitamin we're talking about, let's look closer at how it creates this hidden stroke risk in seniors. So how can something as small as a soft gel capsule have such a big impact on your brain and blood vessels? The answer lies in how vitamin E interacts with your body, especially after age 60. Vitamin E is a fat-soluble vitamin, which means it's stored in your body's fat and liver. Unlike water-soluble vitamins that your body flushes out when you have too much, fat-soluble vitamins can build up over time. When you take high doses regularly, your levels can creep far above what's needed. In small amounts, vitamin E can help prevent blood clots by making platelets less sticky. This is why it was once thought to be heart protective. But in high amounts, especially when combined with blood-thinning medications like aspirin or warfarin, it can make your blood too thin. For seniors, this poses two major risks. 1. Increased bleeding risk in the brain. If a blood vessel in your brain is already weakened by age, high blood pressure, or plaque buildup, overly thin blood makes it easier for that vessel to rupture. This can lead to a hemorrhagic stroke, a type of stroke that often causes severe disability or death. 2. Disrupting your body's clotting balance. Your body needs a delicate balance between clotting and not clotting. If you're too far on either side, danger follows. Too much clotting can cause ischemic strokes. Too little clotting increases the chance of bleeding. High-dose vitamin E can tip this balance unpredictably, especially in older adults whose systems are more sensitive. Research supports this. Large clinical trials have shown that people taking high doses of vitamin E supplements had a greater risk of hemorrhagic stroke compared to those who didn't. The increased risk was small in younger people, but in older adults, particularly those with other risk factors, it was significant. Another issue? Vitamin E can interact with other medications. Many seniors take drugs for blood pressure, cholesterol, or diabetes. Some of these interact in ways that further increase stroke risk, but the connection often goes unnoticed until a crisis happens. I remember a gentleman in his early 70s who had been taking high-dose vitamin E for years because it's natural. He also took daily aspirin. He thought he was protecting his heart. Instead, he ended up in the hospital with a small brain bleed after a minor fall, something that might not have happened if his blood had been clotting normally. The lesson here is clear. Even natural, well-known vitamins can have serious effects when taken in excess, and those effects are magnified after 60. In the next section, we'll talk about which seniors are most at risk from high-dose vitamin E and how to know if you might be one of them. Not every senior who takes vitamin E will develop problems, but certain groups have a much higher chance of running into trouble. If you're over 60 and fall into one or more of these categories, it's worth paying close attention. 1. Seniors with a history of stroke or mini-strokes, TIAs. If you've had a stroke before, your brain's blood vessels may already be fragile. Adding a blood-thinning effect from high-dose vitamin E can raise the risk of another event, sometimes with more severe consequences. 2. Those with high blood pressure or heart disease. Weakened or stiff arteries common with these conditions are more likely to rupture if blood becomes too thin. Even small increases in bleeding risk can have big consequences when vessel walls aren't strong. 3. People on blood-thinning medications. If you take aspirin, warfarin, clopidogrel, or similar drugs, high-dose vitamin E can amplify their effects. This double thinning of the blood makes it harder to stop bleeding once it starts, including inside the brain. 4. Seniors with diabetes. Diabetes damages small blood vessels over time, especially in the brain and eyes. Combining this with high-dose vitamin E can worsen bleeding risks. 5. Those unknowingly getting vitamin E from multiple sources. This is more common than you think. You might take a multivitamin in the morning, a skin health supplement at lunch, and a fortified cereal at breakfast, without realizing all three contain vitamin E. Over time, the doses add up. Let me share an example. A retired teacher in her late 60s came to see me after experiencing frequent dizziness and unexplained bruising. She was on blood pressure medication, took aspirin daily, and enjoyed a breakfast cereal labeled with extra vitamin E. On top of that, she used a 400 IU vitamin E capsule each night. When we added it all up, her daily intake was more than 10 times the safe limit. By simply adjusting her supplements and focusing on food-based sources, her symptoms faded and her blood work improved within weeks. The takeaway? Age, health history, and medication use all affect how your body responds to supplements. And after 60, your margin for error gets smaller. In the next section, we'll look at the warning signs your body might be giving you if you're not tolerating this vitamin well, before it leads to a serious stroke. One of the biggest dangers with high-dose vitamin E is that the early warning signs can be subtle, easy to overlook or blame on aging. But your body often sends gentle alerts before a serious problem develops. Frequent, unexplained bruising is one of the most common signs. If you notice dark purple spots on your arms or legs after the slightest bump, or without any memory of injury, it may be a sign your blood is clotting too slowly. Nosebleeds that happen often are another clue. While an occasional nosebleed can be caused by dry air, repeated episodes, especially if they're hard to stop, should raise a red flag. Some people also experience bleeding gums when brushing or flossing, even if their dental health is good. This can be another sign of overly thin blood. More concerning are neurological symptoms, even if they're brief. These include sudden dizziness, blurry vision, weakness or numbness on one side of the body, or difficulty speaking clearly. Even if these symptoms disappear within minutes, they could be a transient ischemic attack, TIA, sometimes called a mini-stroke. A TIA is your body's way of warning that a larger, more dangerous stroke could be coming. I remember a patient, Mr. L., who thought the tingling in his right hand was just from sleeping funny. 2 days later, he experienced slurred speech for about 5 minutes, then felt fine. He didn't seek help right away. When we finally saw him, his supplement list included a high-dose vitamin E capsule, plus a multivitamin. He was also on daily aspirin. His blood work confirmed his clotting time was far above normal, putting him at serious risk. The important thing to remember is this: never ignore these warning signs. If you experience unusual bleeding, frequent bruising, or any sudden neurological changes, seek medical attention immediately. These symptoms might seem minor, but they could be your first and only chance to prevent a life-changing stroke. Next, we'll cover how to safely use vitamins after 60 so you can still protect your health without adding to your stroke risk. Just because a vitamin can be risky in high doses doesn't mean you have to avoid it completely. The goal is balance, getting enough to support your health without tipping into dangerous territory. Here's how to do it. 1. Test before you take. Before starting any supplement, ask your doctor for a simple blood test to check your current vitamin levels. Many seniors take vitamins just in case without knowing if they're deficient. If your levels are already normal, adding more could do harm instead of good. 2. Keep track of all your sources. Vitamin E hides in more than just capsules. Fortified cereals, nutrition bars, protein shakes, and even salad dressings can contain extra amounts. Read labels carefully and add up your daily total. You might be surprised at how quickly it adds up. 3. Stick to the recommended daily allowance. For adults, that's about 15 milligrams, 22 IU per day. If you're getting most of it from food, like nuts, seeds, and leafy greens, you probably don't need a high-dose supplement. 4. Avoid megadose products. Some bottles advertise 200, 400, or even 1,000 IU of vitamin E per capsule. Unless prescribed for a specific condition by your doctor, these amounts are far beyond what most people need, especially after 60. 5. Coordinate with your medications. If you're on aspirin, warfarin, or other blood thinners, always tell your doctor before adding any supplement. Vitamin E can change how these drugs work, sometimes making them too strong. 6. Choose food first. Whenever possible, get your vitamins from whole foods. Almonds, sunflower seeds, spinach, avocados, and olive oil all provide vitamin E in a natural balance your body can handle better. I had a patient who swapped her 400 IU daily capsule for a handful of mixed nuts and a spinach salad 3 times a week. Her lab results stayed healthy. Her bruising disappeared, and she still got the benefits without the added risk. Up next, we'll look at 3 safer alternatives to high-dose vitamin E that can still protect your brain and heart health. 3 safer alternatives. If you've been taking high-dose vitamin E for heart or brain health, you don't have to give up on protecting yourself. You just need safer options. Here are 3 alternatives that can give you similar benefits without the same stroke risk. 1. Omega-3 fatty acids. Found in fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines, omega-3s help keep blood vessels flexible and support healthy blood flow. Unlike high-dose vitamin E, omega-3s work gently to reduce inflammation without dramatically thinning the blood when eaten in normal amounts. If you can't get enough from food, a quality fish oil or algae-based supplement, at a dose recommended by your doctor, can be a smart choice. 2. Magnesium. This mineral helps regulate blood pressure, relax blood vessels, and support overall cardiovascular health. Many older adults don't get enough magnesium from diet alone. Good sources include leafy greens, beans, pumpkin seeds, and whole grains. Magnesium supplements are generally safe at moderate doses and don't have the same clotting risks as vitamin E. 3. Vitamin D in safe amounts. Vitamin D supports not just bone health, but also healthy immune and cardiovascular function. Low levels are common in older adults, especially in winter. Getting moderate sunlight, eating vitamin D-rich foods like salmon or fortified dairy, and taking a low-dose supplement if needed can help keep levels in the healthy range. By focusing on these safer alternatives, you can still protect your heart and brain without taking on the added stroke risk that comes with high-dose vitamin E. In our final section, I'll bring everything together so you know exactly how to make informed decisions about your supplements and safeguard your health for years to come. We've covered a lot today, so let's bring it all together. Vitamin E isn't an enemy. It's an essential nutrient your body needs. But like many things in life, too much of a good thing can become harmful, especially after age 60. High-dose vitamin E supplements can quietly tip the scales toward dangerous territory, increasing the risk of both clot-related and bleeding strokes in people who are already vulnerable. The key takeaway is this: the safest path is to personalize your supplement routine. That means testing your levels, tracking every source of vitamin E in your diet, and avoiding megadose products unless specifically prescribed. And if you're on blood-thinning medications or have a history of cardiovascular issues, the need for caution is even greater. The good news? You have choices. Omega-3s, magnesium, and safe doses of vitamin D, all combined with a nutrient-rich diet and an active lifestyle, can protect your brain and heart without adding unnecessary risk. These changes may seem small, but they can make a powerful difference in your long-term health. I encourage you to take this information and share it with the people you love. Sometimes, the smallest conversation can prevent a life-changing event like a stroke. If you found this video helpful, please take a moment to like it, subscribe, and share it with friends or family members who might benefit. On Elderly Whisper, we're here to guide you with trustworthy advice so you can stay healthy, active, and independent for years to come. Your health is your greatest gift. Treat it with the care it deserves. I'm Dr. Ariana, wishing you strength, peace, and many more mornings filled with energy and joy.